After laughing, Sarah intentionally poured food on her. Out of pain, she cursed her.
For doing this to me, you will forever be pregnant and suffer leprosy all the days of your life.
Sarah thought it was a joke until this happened.
What is the meaning of this?
The entire market froze. Who did you offend this time? This disrespectful girl? An old woman selling yam shouted as she was arranging her yam for sale. Immediately, a passerby man pointed at her, saying, "I saw it. A pregnant woman cursed her at Mama Caroline's restaurant." Hearing all these words, Sarah's world shattered, her flat tummy swollen, her flawless skin stretched and sagged, her beauty destroyed. She imagined the disgrace and how the villagers would mock her. She wanted the ground to open and swallow her, but it was impossible. Shamefully, she ran home, leaving her oranges scattered in the market. But how did Sarah become so cruel that a widow's curse could destroy her? What pain had Ugama endured that made her words carry such power? And what will Sarah do when she realizes this curse is real and won't go away until something is done? Relax. This story will answer your questions. Before we continue, if you love stories like this, I want you to do something for me. Please subscribe to this channel and hit the like button. You can also turn on notifications so you don't miss stories like this. Tell me the country and state you're watching from. It helps us know how far our story has touched lives. Welcome to African Stories by Priceless. Now, let's begin from the genesis of Sarah's story and her encounter with the poor pregnant widow. In a small village of Amankwo in the eastern part of Nigeria, where everyone hustles daily to put food on their table, the red earth roads are dusty and most houses have old zinc roofs. A few wealthy families live in painted bungalows, but most people struggle daily. The smell of cooking fires fills the air as men return from Okada work or farms. In that same village, everyone knew Sarah as the most beautiful girl for miles around. Her skin glowed like freshly cooked jollof rice. Her hips swayed when she walked, making young men forget their own names. Women whispered among themselves whenever she passed by. "Are you sure this girl is not possessed?" they would ask. How can one girl be this beautiful? But beauty was all she had. Was she respectful? No. Was she kind? No. Was she accommodating? Hell, no. She talked back to elders and insulted anyone who crossed her path. She rejected advice. But she was bold and very sure of herself. Sarah lived with her parents. They were not wealthy, but they were not starving either. Her father, Papa Uche, was a tanker driver who travelled to big cities like Abuja, Lagos and Jos, supplying petroleum to filling stations across different states. Her mother, Mama Ogechi, was a nurse working at one of the notable hospitals in Amankwo, earning over 500,000 naira monthly, so Sarah always had money in her pocket. Sarah was a school dropout from nursing school. She had spent 1 year at Feed My Brain Polytechnic before returning home because the school was too strict for her liking. No time for clubbing, no time for her men. No time for the fast life she craved. The lecturers were demanding, the exams were hard, and the rules suffocated her. So she packed her bags and came back to Amankwo, claiming the school wasn't good enough for her. But that single year made her feel superior to people who couldn't even complete their secondary school. She would remind anyone who listened that she had been to Polytechnic, as if 1 year made her educated. Now, all she did was fight anyone who crossed her path the wrong way. Instead of letting her cause more trouble, her father opened a very classy boutique for her in the same village, the top-rated boutique within the 3 small villages. Sarah became happy. At least no one would call her jobless, and she wouldn't have to look for money to fund her reckless lifestyle. Her ill attitude keeps becoming worse each day. One Friday morning, an old woman carrying a basket of tomatoes passed their compound on her way to the market. "Sarah, greet Mama Adaku," her father, Papa Uche, said as the family sat on the bench eating outside. Sarah would hiss through her teeth. "Why should I greet that illiterate woman? Does she even bathe? Does she even have money, like us?" Sometimes I wonder why poor people are always working hard while the rich are working smart. Her mother, Mama Ogechi, would laugh and clap her hands. "That's my daughter. My girl has standards. She's too educated to waste time on these village fools." Papa Uche would shake his head, his voice heavy with worry. "Woman, the way you praise this girl, even when she does evil, it will lead her to destruction. Mark my words." "Destruction?" Mama Ogechi would snap back. "My daughter is going to marry a rich man from the city. You'll see." But the rich men came and left. They bought Sarah expensive wrappers and shoes from Dubai. They took her to fancy restaurants in town. Then they discovered what lay beneath that beautiful face. They discovered how ugly and dissatisfying her character was. What did they do? They found their ways. One man, Chief Okonkwo's son, ran away after Sarah poured hot water on his housemaid for sitting on her chair. Another man, a bank manager, fled when Sarah slapped his elderly mother for giving her cooking advice. The years passed. Sarah turned 25, then 27, then 29. The marriage proposals stopped coming. The beautiful girl became a bitter lady. And she developed a special hatred, a burning, consuming hatred for married women, especially pregnant ones. "Look at them," she would say, watching pregnant women waddle past her shop. "Slaves. Their husbands control them like goats. They've thrown away their freedom for screaming babies and dirty diapers." Her friends tried to reason with her. "Sarah, don't you want children?" "Never," she would shout. "I will never let any man trap me like that." But everyone knew the truth. It wasn't that Sarah didn't want marriage. Marriage didn't want Sarah. Meanwhile, on the other side of the village, Ugama's world was falling apart. A very beautiful lady whom life's tragedy hits hard on a faithful day. It happened on a bright Tuesday morning. Her husband, Chidi, climbed the tall palm tree behind their compound, the same tree he'd climbed 1,000 times before. Ugama was inside, peeling cassava for the afternoon meal, her 2-year-old daughter Adana sleeping on a mat beside her. Then she heard it. A crack, a scream, a terrible thud that shook the ground. She ran outside. Her husband lay twisted on the ground, his neck bent at an angle that made her stomach turn. His eyes were open, but they saw nothing. "Chidi! Chidi!" She shook him. No response. His body was still warm, but life had already left. The village gathered. Women wailed. Men carried his body inside. The herbalist came, looked, and shook his head. "He's gone." They buried him 3 days later. 1 week after the burial, Chidi's brothers arrived. They came with papers and hungry eyes. "We need the land documents," the eldest brother said. "The money in the bank," another added. "The motorcycle," a third demanded. Ugama sat on the floor, too shocked to speak. But this is my home. These are for me and Adana." The eldest brother laughed, a cold, cruel laugh. You're just a woman, and you only gave him a girl child. If you had sons, maybe we would consider. But a daughter? She's useless. She'll marry and leave anyway. They took everything. The documents, the bank book, the motorcycle, even the good chairs and the radio. They left her the house only because it was too much trouble to sell, and they left her one bed, one pot, and a bag of rice. "Be grateful we're leaving you anything," they said as they drove away. Ugama sat in the empty house and cried until her throat was raw. Then, 1 month later, her body began to change. Her breasts became tender, food tasted strange, she missed her monthly bleeding. No, 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 no. The village midwife confirmed it. "You're pregnant, about 5 weeks. Ugama's legs gave way. She collapsed onto the midwife's floor. A baby, Chidi's baby, growing inside her. But Chidi was gone. The money was gone. Everything was gone. How would she survive? She tried everything. She worked on Chief Emeka's farm, digging cassava under the scorching sun, her pregnant belly growing heavier each week. She washed clothes for Mama Ngozi, scrubbing until her knuckles bled. She carried firewood on her head and sold it at the market. But as the months passed and her belly swelled to 7 months, her strength faded. Her legs became swollen. Her back screamed in pain. One day, she collapsed in the middle of the farm. Chief Emeka's wife helped her up. "You cannot work like this anymore. Go home. Rest." "But I need money," Ugama begged. "My daughter needs to eat. I need to eat." "I'm sorry. I cannot let you work in this condition. If something happens to you or the baby, your husband's spirit will haunt me." Ugama walked home, each step feeling like she was dragging iron chains. That night, she and Adana ate the last handful of rice in the house. She scraped the pot clean and gave it all to her daughter. Her own stomach remained empty. The next day was the same, and the day after. By the 3rd day, hunger became a living thing inside her, gnawing at her insides like a wild animal. On the 4th day, she could barely stand. Adana was crying, her little voice hoarse. "Mama, food! I want food!" Ugama had no tears left to cry. She picked up her daughter, balanced her on her hip, and walked toward the main road. Maybe someone would have mercy. Maybe someone would help. She saw Mama Caroline's restaurant ahead. The smell of jollof rice and fried plantain filled the air. Her stomach twisted with hunger so fierce she thought she might faint. And there, sitting by the window, was Sarah. Beautiful Sarah with her perfect makeup and expensive wig. Before her sat a mountain of food. Jollof rice, fried chicken, plantains, salad. Enough to feed 5 people. Ugama's feet moved on their own. She stepped into the restaurant. "Please," Ugama's voice cracked. "Please help me with food." Sarah looked up, her eyes cold. "What?" "My son and I." Ugama gestured to Adana, who clung to her wrapper. "We haven't eaten since yesterday. The little money I had I spent on antenatal drugs for my unborn baby. We are starving." Sarah's face twisted with disgust. She looked Ugama up and down, the torn wrapper, the swollen feet, the pregnant belly, everything she hated. "Get out of this place before I do something stupid!" Sarah slammed her fork on the table. The sound rang out like a gunshot. "Do I look like your poor, wretched husband?" Ugama's voice became smaller, weaker. "Please, I'm so hungry. I don't even have a husband anymore." "Who cares?" Sarah's voice dripped with venom. Then she did it. She picked up her bowl of jollof rice, stood up, and poured the entire thing onto Ugama's pregnant belly. Hot rice and stew slid down her wrapper. Pieces of chicken dropped to the floor. The restaurant went silent. Everyone stared. Mama Caroline gasped. Other customers froze with food halfway to their mouths. Ugama stood there, trembling. Rice stuck to her belly. Oil stained her only good wrapper. Adana began to cry. Something inside Ugama broke. Not her spirit, something deeper, something ancient. The pain of losing her husband, the cruelty of his family, the endless hunger, the humiliation, it all came flooding out. She raised her hand and pointed at Sarah. For doing this to me. Her voice was no longer weak. It was strong, hard, final. You will forever be pregnant and suffer leprosy all the days of your life. The words hung in the air like thunder. Sarah laughed, a high, mocking laugh. You're cursing me? You? Look at yourself. You're nothing. You're garbage. But Ugama was already walking away, holding Adana close, leaving a trail of rice on the floor. 5 minutes later, Sarah stood in the market, a basket of oranges balanced on her head. She walked with her usual pride, her hips swaying, enjoying the stares of men. The sky darkened. Thunder rumbled, then lightning struck a tree nearby. The crack was deafening. Sarah jumped. The basket tumbled from her head. Oranges rolled everywhere. And then she felt it. Her stomach began to move, to expand, to grow. What's happening? She gasped. Her flat belly pushed out. It swelled like she'd stuffed a pillow under her wrapper, but there was no pillow. It was her own flesh, growing, stretching, expanding. And then the burning started. Her arms, her legs, her face. Red sores erupted on her perfect skin. They cracked open, oozing yellow pus. The pain was like fire ants eating her alive. She looked down at her hands. They were covered in sores. Leprosy. Help me, she screamed. Help! People gathered. They pointed. They whispered. Who has she offended this time? This disrespectful girl? An old woman said. A man stepped forward. I overheard a poor pregnant woman cursing her at Mama Caroline's restaurant. The crowd gasped. Everyone knew what this meant. A curse from a wronged pregnant woman was the most powerful curse in the land. Sarah's mind spun. Her flat stomach was now round like a woman 9 months pregnant. Her beautiful skin was destroyed. Which was worse? She turned and ran. People jumped out of her way. Children screamed. She ran all the way home, her swollen belly bouncing, her sores leaving drops of pus on the ground. For 3 months, Sarah lived in hell. Her stomach stayed swollen. The baby inside, because there was a baby, the midwife confirmed, impossibly, miraculously, terribly kicked and moved, but it never came out. It just stayed there, growing, pressing on her organs, making her sick. The leprosy spread. Her toes began to rot. Her fingers became numb. Her beautiful face became a mass of sores. No medicine worked. No herbalist could help. The pastor prayed. The imam recited verses. Nothing changed. Men who once desired her crossed the road to avoid her. Children threw stones. Even her mother, Mama Ogechi, began to avoid looking at her. Only Papa Uche stayed close. I warned you, he said sadly. I warned both of you. Sarah couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. The pain was constant, and worse than the pain was the shame, the whispers, the pointing, the way people looked at her with a mixture of horror and satisfaction. She got what she deserved, they said. On the 90th day, Sarah broke. I need to find her, she whispered. I need to find that woman. It took 2 weeks of searching. Finally, someone told her, Ugama? She lives in that small house by the stream, the one with the cracked wall. Sarah could barely walk. Her swollen belly made every step agony. Her leprous feet left bloody marks. But she dragged herself there. She found Ugama outside, roasting yam over a fire, her newborn baby strapped to her back, the baby that had been in her belly that terrible day. Sarah fell to her knees. "Please," she sobbed. "Please forgive me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Ugama looked at her. For a long moment she said nothing. "You poured food on me when I was starving," Ugama said quietly. "You mocked me when I was suffering. Why should I forgive you?" "Because I'm dying," Sarah wailed. "Please, I'll do anything. I'll give you money. "I don't want your money," Ugama interrupted. "I want you to understand. Do you understand now? Do you know what it feels like to be helpless, to be humiliated, to suffer?" Sarah nodded, tears and pus running down her face. Yes, I understand. Please, I'm begging you." Ugama stood. She walked to Sarah and looked down at her. "You will recover," she said finally, "but you will never forget. Every time you see a pregnant woman, you will remember. Every time you see someone suffering, you will remember. And you will help them. Do you understand?" Yes, I promise." Ugama placed her hand on Sarah's head. "Then I forgive you. May the curse be lifted." The effect was immediate. Sarah's stomach began to shrink. The sores began to dry. The pain faded. Within minutes, she was herself again, thin, smooth-skinned, healed. She looked at her hands in wonder. Then she looked at Ugama and wept. 1 year later, the village barely recognized Sarah. She spent her days helping others. She fed the hungry. She visited the sick. When she saw pregnant women struggling, she carried their loads. When she saw beggars, she gave them food. The bitterness was gone. The pride was gone. In their place was something new: humility, compassion, gratitude. Her father, Papa Uche, smiled. "Now you are truly beautiful." And Ugama? A kind man named Obina, a widower with no children, had seen her struggling. He helped her. He cared for her. He fell in love with her gentle spirit. They married, and he became a father to Adana and her son. The woman who had nothing now had everything. The woman who had everything had learned that nothing matters without a good heart. This story teaches us something which every viewer should go with. Number 1, pride comes before a fall. Number 2, cruelty always returns to us. And number 3, mercy, forgiveness and humility can save even the worst among us.
It's all right.
If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to African Stories by Priceless. Hit that like button and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below telling me what you learned from Sarah and Ugama's story. Don't forget to tell us where you are watching us from.